How's it going, ladies and bruises? I'm Bobby Sixkilla and welcome back to Root Double. It has been about a week since I had a chance to record this, unfortunately. Because of the release of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond has been taking up a lot of my time, but it is time, finally, for us to jump in and finally make a start on the ending that I didn't even know existed, or the route that I didn't even know existed, Route Current. So let's jump in. Looks like there's only one ending, that means we can't fuck it up, so that's cool. The man who never lost heart and has finally exhausted his strength. A boy was watching him, from the shadows all along. Just what happened there, after the man shot the boy down and before he stood up again. Once he decides to leave his lookout and take matters into his own hands, the story will move towards its end, and thus, the present has arrived. Where is the truth?
そこでイエスが、名は何というのかとお尋ねになると、彼は答えた。我が名はレギオン。我らは多数であるがゆえに、新約聖書、マルコによる福音書、5章9節。
I don't know how long this ending is going to be, but based on the fact that there's only one ending for it, probably not that long. The blood poured endlessly. From his side, his left arm, his right leg. Natsuhiko kept running, even though he was under the whitewashed tomb. He ran to get away from that man, and to defeat him. And at the end of his flight, Natsuhiko's feet brought him. To a vast hall where 6 spires towered above him. And then a gunshot shrieked from behind. Natsuhiko fell, pain burning through his left arm. Blood puddled on the floor as darkness and helplessness descended upon him. So this is where you die. Natsuhiko didn't even have the energy to respond. Eventually the man parted with these words. After you comes the girl. Natsuhiko stood up with all his might to put an end to the man's wicked deeds. There was one thing that Natsuhiko needed to do. Use his ability to destroy the man's mind. We did this. So he focused with all his mind, all his spirit. The man dropped his gun and screamed. His face rapidly froze over. And that's when he freaks out and runs away like he did with Yeti. And then he ran for his life. Wait. Natsuhiko tried to pursue the man but staggered. Slammed his back against the tower and collapsed on the spot. Blood streamed out from his entire body. He could feel his mortal flame fading. But to protect his beloved hometown and the people precious to him who lived within. So please, work. Shatter. He mustered the last of his strength to destroy every last memory that composed the man's mind. As the man fell, Natsuhiko's consciousness rapidly faded away. But doesn't it hours before he finds us again? How are we still alive? Eventually, far past that frozen time, awake, a voice called to him. Or perhaps it was merely a memory of such a voice. He heard that voice as he lay beneath the whitewashed tomb. And then time began to move. His consciousness was in an endless darkness. It felt like a world shut off from everything. Sight, hearing, touch, smell, taste, he'd been disconnected from all his senses. It didn't feel like there was a world around for him to experience at all. What? He had no idea what was going on. He couldn't even tell if he was dead or alive. What in the world am I... Ripples of bewilderment spread across the calm sea of nihility, and then... This is... His memory suddenly returned. He remembered who he was, where he was, what he was doing, what he'd gotten himself into. That's right. I'm Natsuhiko Tenkawa. He remembered that. An ordinary high school student had caught wind of a terrorist attack and went to Labo to prevent it. And finally he remembered. That he got shot by a terrorist. Then, am I really dead after all? No. I can feel something pulsing. He certainly could feel a beat. A heartbeat. He had in his sense of vision, hearing, touch, smell, taste, and pain. Both his body and consciousness were here. I'm still alive. Captain, please hang in there. Captain? Get up, Captain, come on. Roused awake by those voices, Natsuhiko opened his eyes. You finally come to, haven't you? What a relief, I thought you bit it there for a sec. Before his eyes were two female rescue workers, one of whom he recognized. Jun? He tried to say her name, but for some reason his lips seemed to be paralyzed. He had his senses, yet it felt as if his nerves weren't connected properly to his body. It was a strange sensation. What's going on? As soon as Natsuhiko questioned the situation. No, where am I? His mouth moved on its own, and his body even got up in spite of Natsuhiko's intention. Natsuhiko was bewildered at the sight, for he was in clearly a different place than where he passed out. An agonized voice suddenly came out of his body, which once again collapsed in the passageway. What's happening? He felt the sensation of a headache, yet did not feel like it was happening. What was happening was real. Are you okay? Are you in pain? No, I'm fine. His mouth moved on its own again, and then his arm suddenly came into view. Huh? Why am I in a rescue worker outfit? His body disregarded Natsuhiko's confusion and got up by leaning his arm against the wall. Why has my body been moving on its own? Is someone controlling me? But right when Natsuhiko considered that suspicion, he heard an explosion. Oh my god, so that voice that's been in the captain's head this whole time is Natsuhiko's consciousness, which has somehow been transferred into his head when he destroyed his memories. Another explosion? Maybe a fire's broken out. Let's go, Lieutenant. Right, Captain. Please rest here. We'll handle this one by ourselves. And with that, the two rescue workers ran off. They're saying I'm a rescue squad captain? In spite of Natsuhiko's bewilderment, his body moved on its own to follow the two women. Wait up, you guys? He just now realized that he'd heard that voice before. It was the voice of the terrorist who had shot him in Mashido. Huh? Then that means... this is that man's body. Area 1B2 Outer Ring was engulfed in hellfire. In spite of Natsuhiko's will, his body just stood there, dumbfounded. That's gotta be it. I must be in that man's body right now. He didn't know why he was inside him, but he knew that he was. That was when the man's ears picked up a faint voice. Help me. Someone's in that room? Then you need to be saved. Right as Natsuhiko came across that thought, the man dashed through the gap in the flames and discovered a world of fire and smoke. Someone help me. The man's eyes froze in place, and through the smoke he saw... But that's only because Natsuhiko's in his head now. He can see Yuri because Natsuhiko's in his head. Okay, that explains why he can see Yuri and no one else can. Yuri? What's Yuri doing in a place like this? Am I hallucinating again? But right as Natsuhiko had that thought, the girl's face froze over. And then someone else's thoughts ran through Natsuhiko's consciousness. What's with that look? What's with that voice? It sounded like telepathy. Before he realized it, the man's feet had stopped in their tracks. Could that voice have been what he was just thinking right now? If he's cognizant of her, then does that mean she's not a phantom? Shit, then we gotta save Yuri, and quick! You can see the flames encroaching closer and closer to Yuri's body. If I can hear his voice, then I'm sure as hell that he can hear mine. Natsuhiko focused hard in the same way he would when he used telepathy. Don't stop. Save her. Go save her. Natsuhiko's voice echoed in the man's head, and with that command giving him the final push he needed, the man lunged into the blazing flames. Holy shit, that makes a lot more sense now. Already. We're already 10 minutes in. The fire was masterfully extinguished through the skillful efforts of the two rescue workers. Don't worry, miss, you're safe now. Are you hurt? But they're talking to her. No. Natsuhiko looked long and hard at the girl through the man's eyes. The girl that they're seeing is the girl that died at the elevator, isn't it? That they're seeing. The one that got shot. That we never found out who it was. Maybe. Is that really Yuri? But Yuri was supposed to have died 9 years ago. Yuri didn't have a twin sister by any chance, did she? But he didn't know that yet. Because his body didn't accept it yet. Or was this after that? Oh my timeline's all messed up now. No, I could have sworn Yuri was an only child. So she could be a clone or something then? She was such a splitting image of Yuri that he couldn't help but ponder such absurd impossibilities. At that time, the man's eyes turned toward the two rescue workers. By the way, can I ask you guys a question? You've been calling me captain, so does that mean I'm the captain of a rescue squad or something? Huh? The heck you talking about? What do you mean by that? Well, thing is, I don't know anything. Not who I am or even where I am. Huh? Everyone on the outside was shocked by the man's confession, but Natsuhiko was rather relieved. Thank goodness I successfully destroyed the man's mind. Little dark, but okay. I mean, he was a psycho, but still. Natsuhiko recalled what had happened back then. Show me all the memories that composed his mind. Please work. Shatter. That was Natsuhiko's memory of just before he'd lost consciousness. It was more accurate to say that he destroyed the man's memories, rather than his mind. As a result, the man appeared to be suffering from amnesia. Then, did his hatred and murderous intent disappear too? He had no evidence that had said that much, but all signs of the man's demeanour suggested that Natsuhiko could relax for now. But Natsuhiko grew depressed as he recalled the details of his own loss of consciousness. His blood loss, his sense fading into darkness. He was by no means okay. That's right, so when the terrorists approached Natsuhiko, he'd already recovered his memories. That's why he'd saved Mashido and sent her up in the elevator and everything. I remember now. So he's now aware that Yuri doesn't exist in this world anymore. His blood loss, his sense fading into darkness. He was by no means okay. Well, it's no wonder. With that many gunshot wounds, anybody would die like I did back there. That fact cast a dark shadow on Natsuhiko's mind. But then, what am I now? Don't tell me I'm a ghost. And as that possibility crossed his mind, he recalled a story that he'd heard just the other day. In an extreme example, some people are even considering the possibility that ghosts just might be another type of BC. BC energy created by telepathy starts decaying after it's sent, but it's not like it fades to zero immediately. So in other words, with or without a target, extraordinarily strong BC can remain in a place for a while. That also means that the feelings of the dead remain in this world, doesn't it? Natsuhiko likely died when he was still inside the man's mind, and thus the BC energy Natsuhiko used was still lingering inside the man. So my consciousness is in here now, huh? You would have thought that I'd personally experience a hypothetical we discussed in class. It's almost like I've become an impure spirit haunting the one who killed me. He was unbearably sad that he'd been no longer able to see Mashido, Sally, or even his own mother again. At that moment, Natsuhiko suddenly noticed that the lieutenant was trying to inject the girl with something. Please hold out your arm. No, I don't want that shot. You can't be like that. You'll be in grave danger without it. Ah! The lieutenant forcefully injected the girl. What's that drug? It's called AD. Put in simple terms, it's an anti-radiation drug. According to the lieutenant's explanation, AD was a drug provided by Labo that would serve as protection against certain levels of radiation for about 60 minutes. Furthermore, Labo also provided the rescue squad members with radiation measurement devices known as Procyons, which the squad apparently carried as they conducted their relief efforts. And during the lieutenant's explanation, she told the man this. And nearly 2 hours ago, that very same reactor went through a meltdown. That revelation gave both the man and Natsuhiko a great shock. No, in the end, the meltdown still happened? Damn it, I thought things would work out if I just defeated this bastard. The man's comrades probably blew up the nuclear reactor. Then what have we been fighting for? As Natsuhiko wallowed in his helplessness, the man checked his own pockets. He then found a single ampule of AD. Using it's a piece of cake, it comes with its own cartridge. Should just put it in that. Now all you gotta do is break off the tip, put it against the vein, and then press the end. The man administered the medicine as told, and a sudden change occurred in Natsuhiko's consciousness. He was struck with an abrupt, intense feeling of loss. The same sensation he felt after he fought with the man. The sensation that he was fading away. What is this? Am I gonna disappear just like this? His 5 senses rapidly faded into the distance. Death soundlessly drew near for the second time that day. It's the machine that they were near. That's why his consciousness got transferred, right? Because we don't even know what that machine is. Wow, I mean, they did have some kind of explanation on a piece of paper, but I don't understand it. And that's when Natsuhiko prayed from the bottom of his heart. Until he could confirm Mashido and Salu's safety. Until he could discern that girl's true identity. Don't let me disappear. But that prayer was in vain. Natsuhiko's consciousness was buried in the darkness. Before he knew it, his consciousness was in the darkness once again. He was in a world shut away from everything. All his senses had shut off. How much time had passed? I didn't disappear? As soon as that realization hit Natsuhiko, he heard a voice echoing from somewhere. Why so much just now? Is the radiation down here? Isn't good. Let's get out of here. Wait, it's not that much higher than the AD's limit. I think we'll still be okay. Is that Jin? And the other voices... His hearing soon returned, followed quickly by his sight. We're just going to get snippets of the before section now. No, the after section. Oh my god. Time is not good for my brain. He saw a girl that was quite familiar standing there within the flames. Salyu? Why is Salyu here? No, first things first, why have my senses come back? What's happening? Just then someone beside the man looked at Salyu and spoke up. Miss Sonomiya? Professor? She wasn't wearing her glasses, but there was no mistaking that it was Ina. What's Professor Tsubakiyama doing here? What on earth is going on right now? Beside the man were Jun and Ina, all surrounded by flames. As Natsuhiko struggled to process everything in his extreme confusion, the man shouted at Salyu. Calm down, you don't have to be afraid of us. We came here to save you. But predictably, the terrorist's persuasive words to Salyu fell on deaf ears. She turned around and ran away. Jun and the man pursued her. Louise, why are you running away? It's me, Jun. Wait. 9,307 microsieverts? Oh, come on, give us a break. You take the left. Yeah. Jun and the man chased Salyu into an area contaminated by radiation. The man was assailed by an intense headache and numb skin, and the pain propagated to Natsuhiko as well. Are these effects of radiation? Then Salyu must be taking the same radiation damage too. But as he thought that, he caught a glimpse of Salyu's back in the corner of the man's eye. Wait, please wait. Salyu seemed to be in pain. The bandage on her left arm was oozing with blood. Natsuhiko promptly screamed at the man. Stop, don't follow her. Don't chase her, stop right there. Shut the hell up. The man rejected Natsuhiko's cry and ran even faster. Those words setting off a seething rage within Natsuhiko for the terrorist that killed him. You're not laying a finger on Salyu. Natsuhiko focused with all his spirit and destroyed the man's current memory of that very instant. The man appeared to have collapsed. Salyu's footsteps faded into the distance, and as the man's consciousness became dim, it almost seemed to pull Natsuhiko's consciousness away with deadlock. Though he couldn't tell how many times he'd felt this sense of vanishing, it didn't last very long. Eventually a sharp sound echoed in the darkness, shaking Natsuhiko awake. Does that sound a watch alarm? As his five senses connected to the world, he heard the sounds of the man speaking, with the lieutenant echoing off in the distance. Administer the AD to everyone. Me have 3 of them. They're administering AD? So it's been an hour since they first administered it. But why did I regain consciousness now of all times? A prickling of pain ran through the man's arm. It appeared he just administered himself with AD. And just then, that sense of vanishing assailed Natsuhiko once more. The AD's keeping him suppressed. Why? Why am I going through the sensation once more? It's the waves. When he injects himself, it protects him from those particles. So Natsuhiko can't project himself into his mind anymore or whatever. It happened each time the man administered AD. And tell me the sensation's due to the AD. But I thought AD was an anti-radiation drug. Natsuhiko was beginning to realize something. Something possibly vital. But in the blink of an eye, the darkness consumed Natsuhiko's thoughts. Natsuhiko thought to himself in the darkness, what the hell is going on? Why are my senses cutting in and out intermittently? Is my lingering BC energy becoming unstable inside the man's head? There was no way he could reach an answer. He had no information to work with. And without his 5 senses, the best he could do was guess. A ghost, huh? Right now I'm even more fleeting existence than I thought. Eventually, even his sense of time grew vague, and then he was abruptly greeted by his 4th awakening. In an instant, all his senses came back to him. Mortabe, we'll meet up in the center. Roger. What? Once Natsuhiko came to, he realized the man was running through a passageway. The man's intense headache and numbness of skin faintly propagated to Natsuhiko. It's the same feeling as last time. Is anyone there? Say something if you are. The man raised his voice as he searched the room and moved on to the next. Eventually, the man rushed, impatient. His man's rushed, impatient thoughts vaguely propagated to Natsuhiko. Survivors and AD. He was apparently looking for those two things. Mortabe, any luck? I checked all 3 rooms, but I got nothing. Same here. And this is the only room left. The room the man was looking at had a nameplate reading Dr. Miyoko Tenkawa. This is Mum's office. That's right. This is where Yuri disappeared, and I learned the truth. But then, who's that girl that looks exactly like her? Mortabe, let's go in. Yeah. As the 2 of them entered the room, Jun's watch chimed. Already? Let's get out of here. We promised we'd go back after 3 minutes. As he heard those words, Natsuhiko finally understood the situation. It seemed the 2 of them had designated a specific time frame for them to search a contaminated zone. I see. So that's why they're in such a rush. Wait, now that I think about it, wasn't the place they chased Salu also a contaminated zone? Wait, don't tell me. A certain hypothesis came to Natsuhiko's mind, and he got evidence supporting that hypothesis once Jun and the man slipped out of the contaminated zone. But right as the man shut the security gate, Natsuhiko's 5 senses rapidly faded away. I knew it. My awakening has some connection with the contaminated zones. As he held that conviction, Natsuhiko's consciousness once again sank into the darkness. Once he was shut inside the darkness, Natsuhiko began to think, but even if I figured that out, what good does it do? I'm still nothing more than a ghost now, aren't I? Natsuhiko was struck with helplessness. But even so, it was only a few dozen minutes later that he eventually reached a turning point. Man, this is interesting now. It's all coming together. This is my favourite part, when it all comes together. The 5th awakening groggily began. Terrorist down here with us. The terrorist is one of the 9. No one's saying that at all. Then do you mean to say that there's a terrorist among the 6 of us? That's even more unlikely. Several people around the man were arguing about something. What's the situation this time? What's this about a terrorist? Don't tell me they figured out the man's true colours. But how? I could have sworn I erased his memories. Alright, let's just calm down for a minute, guys. What's your problem? You're the only one who hasn't spoken their thoughts on the matter, right? Once Natsuhiko regained his sight, he first saw Ina's face. Near her were Jun, the lieutenant, the girl, and Ukita. Even Mr. Ukita's in Labo? Why? I mean, when Mr. Ukita had that guest lecture, he said, in the unlikely event that a leak occurs, an automatic radiation leakage prevention system activates. Several bulkheads and gates are installed that lock down to completely shut out the scattering of radioactive material. He should have known very well that he could have been locked underground in the case of a meltdown. So why did Mr. Ukita stay behind during the evacuation? Was he really the sleeper agent? For a moment he saw Ukita in a suspicious light, but no, wait a second. Something's not right, if you think about it. If Mr. Ukita were the terrorist, then he'd have escaped as soon as the meltdown happened. At any rate, I still don't know why he stayed underground. What's more, it's odd that Professor Tsubakiyama's here too. What business would a high school teacher have in a place like this? His doubts didn't stop there. He was still completely in the dark about who Yuri's lookalike was or why she was here. It's no use. There's just way too many things I don't understand. Fine, in that case, as Natsuhiko recalled the time he dived into Mashido's memories, I want to know. He focused on that wish with all his spirit. At that moment, all of the man's memories started from when he'd awoken, floated before Natsuhiko's eyes. Memories of a heroic struggle in the midst of a hopeless situation. The announcement of a case N and the subsequent lockdown of all the bulkheads. The encounter with Ina and Ukita, who were trapped below. The pressing fires, the spreading radiation, the lack of AD, the difficult search for survivors, and the gruesome murders that occurred within the inescapable walls of Labo. To overcome these countless hardships, the man threw himself into danger and kept on advancing regardless of any injuries he sustained. Eventually, they reached an escape route, the cargo lift in Area 6. But what was waiting for them there was the control panel Natsuhiko destroyed, and the corpse of an unfamiliar girl. Natsuhiko's consciousness returned from the man's memories and linked back to the present, Before he knew it, all eyes were on the man. Hey, what's with the sudden silent treatment? What the hell was that? The man appeared to be thoroughly confused himself. Natsuhiko gasped at that sign. Don't tell me he saw those memories the same time I did. If that were the case, then the man had relived his memories of the 3 hours in the span of a few seconds. Not his memories as a terrorist, but rather his memories as the rescue worker known as Watase Kasasagi. The current Watase was almost a completely different person compared to the homicidal murderer. Can memory loss alone cause such a drastic change in someone? If the man's true self was how he was before he lost his memory, then where in the world did the current Watase get his personality from? But there was more pressing matters for Natsuhiko to ponder. In any case, murders in Labo? What's going on here? I think the 2 rescue workers who died were probably the terrorists from back then, but what kind of Labo researcher would go so far as to kill a girl like that, and for what purpose? If all of those incidents happened after the bulkhead shut, then does that mean that the perpetrator is among the people present? Just then Watase looked around at everyone, as though he too shared Natsuhiko's doubts. First was Ukita. Mr. Ukita, the sleeper agent? Or did he merely get dragged into this mess? If Mr. Ukita is in fact the sleeper agent, then maybe he double-crossed the terrorists for some reason. At the very least, that brings up the possibility that he killed the 2 terrorists. Next was Ena. I don't want to think of Professor Tsubakiyama as a murderer, but if she isn't, then what's she even doing here? After she refused to cooperate with us when we asked her for help, she's the last person I expected to see here. She explained to everyone that she came here because a staff member called her up, but I'm not so sure about that. It's flimsy, man, and she's not willing to go into detail. I don't know. Next came the other 2 rescue workers. Jun and Lieutenant Tachibana are in the same rescue squad as the terrorists. But as far as I can tell from how they've acted so far, they seem trustworthy enough, especially Jun. I definitely can't see her killing anyone, ever. Man, you should have seen some of the endings I've seen then. When she goes crazy with that metal saw and starts hacking away at people. And finally, Watase turned to look at the girl who'd called herself Yuri, but Yuri's gone. You're right, but why? When Watase looked around in a panic, he caught a glimpse of her from behind. Found her, she's heading for Area 5. Watase and the rest of the group split up and searched for Yuri once she ran off into Area 5. Maybe Yuri didn't die the first time, when they were little, when they were like 10 or whatever. Maybe they took her and cloned her and shit or something, or put her in the test thing, in that machine. I don't know. I mean, she was a BC user, so maybe they were trying to soup her up as an experiment. Watase and the rest of the she had no other family, and his mother, Dr. Tenkawa, could totally have done it and been like, oh no, she's dead. Bam. New test subject. Okay. Okay. That's enough of that. Watase and the rest of the group split up and searched for Yuri once she ran off into Area 5. I don't think Mortabe ever told Yuri that the inner wing was a contaminated zone. If she ran there, those thoughts were imbued with a righteous desire to save people, as if it were only second nature to him. Go, save her! Natsuhiko approved of Watase's intentions as he ran into the contaminated zone. With Procyon's alarm blaring, Watase found Yuri in front of the elevator hall. Yuri? So you really did come after me? What do you mean you really did come after me? Of course I did. Anyway, this place is dangerous. It's a contaminated zone. You're always worrying about me like this, aren't you? But then why did you do something so horrible to me back then? Those words confused both Natsuhiko and Watase. Something so horrible? What could she be talking about? There wasn't any applicable answer to be found within Watase's memory, but do you really not remember? A minute later and I would have died. I was really scared when I found myself trapped all alone in that sea of flames, and yet you were also the one who saved me. Once he heard that, Natsuhiko finally understood. I see, she probably knew of Watase from before he lost his memories. If that were the case, then of course she'd be confused as to why Watase currently seemed to be a completely different person. Yuri stepped up to Watase and spoke up. Captain Kasasagi, please. Please let me know your mind. Let me know your mind? What, does that mean she's a communicator too? As soon as that thought hit Natsuhiko, a certain memory flickered within Watase's brain. Huh? Is this the memory of when we fought? But why? Didn't I erase all his memories? A moment later. Yeah, that's why he ran away from him. Because he remembered when Natsuhiko shattered his brain, and he was worried she was going to do the same. Watase screamed and made a mad dash out of the elevator hall. His mind was whirling with intense fear. For some reason he was equating Yuri with his memory of Natsuhiko from back then. Natsuhiko recalled the mental voice he heard from Watase right before the memory erasure. Communicators aren't human, they're mind-corrupting monsters. This is a monster hunt. Kill or be killed. Kill, 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 kill. Don't tell me his emotions from back then are coming back. Crap, she's going to be in danger if this keeps up. In an attempt to save Yuri, Natsuhiko once again sought to destroy Watase's current memory. Disappear. At that very moment, Watase's mouth spewed blood and vomit. Oh, that was what was messing him up. What's with this all of a sudden? It couldn't be an effect of erasing his memory, could it? Now that he thought about it, Watase also fainted when Natsuhiko erased his memory to give Salyu a chance to escape. It seemed that the bodily damage of memory erasure was no laughing matter. If I keep doing this, we'll end up killing him. Watase's consciousness was rapidly fading away. Crap, if this bastard dies now, then... Natsuhiko's current existence was extremely unstable, as he'd lost his flesh and was no more than a consciousness lingering inside Watase's brain. If Watase, the host body so to speak, were to die, then would I disappear too? Screw that, I don't want to disappear. There was no way he could disappear without knowing the full story behind this incident, without solving the mystery behind the girl who called herself Yuri. I really hate to admit it, but I'm in the same boat as this bastard. This isn't the time to just give up and die. Wake the hell up, Watase Kasasagi. Natsuhiko wished with all his strength. Yeah, and Watase reclaimed consciousness with a scream. Alright, he's holding out for now. They'd wasted time, but probably not that much. How's the girl? By the time Watase rushed back to the elevator hall, Yuri had already disappeared. Afterward, Watase and the others concluded their search for Yuri for the time being and regrouped in the neuroscience laboratory in Area 5. I checked B2, but I didn't find her. Me neither. So we've really lost sight of her, huh? As he watched everyone give their reports with depressed faces, Natsuhiko thought to himself, I ended up helping her escape, but was that really the right choice? Well, it's not like I had any choice back then. As Natsuhiko agreed with himself, he focused on the laboratory itself. The sight of all the equipment there began to bother him. That's strange. Laboratories like these usually experiment on mice and stuff, don't they? So why is all the equipment here scaled for human use? As Natsuhiko pondered on that observation, Yukita suddenly started interrogating Watase. In fact, why did you go to the basement in the first place? How did you lose your memories? Well... Amnesia caused by external trauma normally fades away with the progression of time, yet you show no signs of recovery regardless of how long it's been. Do you not find that strange? Mr. Yukita, are you implying something? I am. It is my belief that Captain Kasasagi may be lying about having amnesia. That's impossible. Why would he ever need to lie about something like that? I believe that's because he's trying to hide something. No, if I'm to be completely honest, I've suspected that from the very beginning. What's gotten to Mr. Ikeda all of a sudden? Is he blaming Yuri's disappearance on Watase? Does that mean Mr. Ikeda wasn't one of Watase's comrades? As Natsuhiko pondered that thought, Watase objected to Ukita's accusation. I've done nothing wrong, even without my memories, Then go ahead, and prove your innocence. Watase was pierced by everyone's suspicious stares. Ukita's accusation was persuasive enough, but if their suspicion of him grows any stronger, what will happen to Watase? If they restrain him, it'll restrict my ability to act too, won't it? Also, in the off chance that Mr. Ukita was the one who killed everyone, if there is discord between the terrorists inside this facility, then Ukita could very well end up killing Watase anyway. In which case, Natsuhiko's spirit would likely vanish as well. What do we do? It doesn't look like Mr. Ukita is willing to give up on the suspicions of the current Watase. Should I try to temporarily restore the bastard's memories? No, I can't. If I did, then that would truly be the revival of a murderer in itself. And what should I do? What the hell can I do? As he searched for options, he suddenly remembered the lesson from a few days ago. In short, BC is direct brain-to-brain communication. Telepathy stimulates the parts of the brain responsible for hearing to produce the same response as if we were actually hearing it. So it's a kind of hallucination. True, but since it's the brain perceiving the information, that might already make it a hallucination to begin with. Theoretically, that influence isn't limited to the sense of hearing. The possibilities of BC are endless. I see. If I can cause the brain to hallucinate in senses other than just hearing, if Natsuhiko could deceive not just Watase's hearing, but his sight, his touch, and his sense of time, as well as awareness itself, he could, in essence, fabricate a memory within his mind. Can I do it? I got no choice, I have to. Natsuhiko immediately focused his mind and wormed his way into Watase's consciousness. He could feel time was flowing slowly compared to the real world. Let's see, in short, all I need to do is prove that Watase was conducting rescue squad activities, so Natsuhiko began by projecting his own memories. And you were? We're the rescue squad that received a distress call from Labo. Rescue squad? You kids must be survivors, right? Yeah, what happened down here? We happened to be down here by coincidence and got caught up in all this. Natsuhiko focused hard on that vision. To plant the memory in Watase's mind, Natsuhiko concentrated on it even harder than he would when using telepathy. Did it make it through? The moment Natsuhiko asked himself that, he saw the new vision floating amongst Watase's memories. It's working. BC can be used to fabricate memories, so that explains why he suddenly and for very conveniently remembered right when they were forcing him to prove that he had amnesia and what he was doing. I've had enough experience with Watase's point of view, so if I apply our joint memories to good use, it should be easy for me to create new ones from scratch. Next I should create the image that Watase's comrades were proper rescue workers as well. Natsuhiko concentrated once more. We're the rescue squad that received a distress call from Labo. I think that's what the first guy was like, and the other one was... You'd have been better off not noticing that. He should put you through a little more pain back then. It was a mistake to show you mercy. Okay, good, but going by my memory of him, that would make him out to be an obvious terrorist, so... Natsuhiko used the voice he heard the second man use as a base to manipulate the vision, so that the man said something else. Captain, we've discovered survivors in the basement. Get down here right away. No. Captain, we've discovered survivors in the basement. Get down here right away. A little bit more. Captain, we've discovered survivors in the basement. Get down here right away. Okay, a vision like that's sure to work. Natsuhiko then moved on to imagine the men conducting rescue activities. 6:42 AM, Watase received a radio transmission from one of his subordinates and went down to the basement. Several minutes after that, he ran into the basement with his two subordinates. Watase was wearing his protection suit. Subordinates were wearing ones as well. Captain, over here. I heard footsteps coming from this way. And eventually they encountered the children. They must have gotten a report and come to rescue us. We're saved. Hey there, please save us. Survivors. Their vision floated amidst Watase's memories. Alright, looks like this will work. But it still lacks credibility, so... What are your names? He's Natsuhiko and I'm Mashido. And this one's Salu. Salu? The nickname comes from Louise Yui Sanamiya. I see. Watase looked at his watch as he spoke. The hands pointed to 6:52. And Watase's memory was appended with all the details as well. Professor Tsubakiyama's the only one here who should know Salu's nickname, so hopefully that'll get her to believe him. Wait, what? Just then Natsuhiko noticed a certain oddity about the memory he just forged. Watase's watch turned into my watch. But why would that happen? By changing someone's memories, do my own memories have an effect on them? Is that it? He tried thinking about it, but he couldn't quite understand the reason why. It bugs me, but I guess there's no helping it. Let's continue. Knowing Sully's nickname might not be sufficient evidence on its own. If Professor Tsubakiyama doesn't pick up on it, then it's all over. We need to add one more memory to gain everyone's trust for sure. As he considered that requirement, Natsuhiko figured out what would make the perfect evidence. Now that I think about it, a few hours ago, back when he and Mashido had been locked up in Area 5, they'd entered Miyoko Tenkawa's office in their search for a security card, and inside his mother's desk drawers, Natsuhiko had discovered several metal boxes packed with medical ampules. I didn't realize it back then, but that must have been AD, right? Watase and Jun had later went into Miyoko Tenkawa's office and found 5 ampules of AD, but they didn't find the ones inside the desk drawers. So if I just bestow Watase with this memory of the AD... It was AD in a place like this? There was this much AD being kept inside the facility too? Natsuhiko bestowed Watase with that memory and returned to reality. And as soon as he did, he heard Watase shout, Captain, please calm down. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. More importantly, I just remembered. Huh? Wait, does that mean my memory came back? And as a result of the memory Natsuhiko bestowed upon him, Watase was able to dodge suspicion. After they discovered AD in Miyoko Tenkawa's office, Watase and the others discussed their plan going forward. Now that we got my story cleared up, there's something more important we need to discuss. You're talking about Miss Yuri, aren't you? Yeah, it's far too dangerous for her to be wandering around this huge facility, and there's also Natsuhiko and the others to worry about too. We've looked all over the lab and we still haven't found them. And either they really are moving around or we just missed them somewhere. Natsuhiko pondered to himself as he listened in on the conversation. Maeshiro aside, since she escaped to the surface. I guess that means the problem is whether or not Yuri and Sally were safe, huh? That and where I am, I guess. Thinking about the topic of his own whereabouts made him feel hopeless. With Watase and the others having already concluded their search of most of Labo, there was only one place remaining, where Natsuhiko's body could be. Area N. That was the only logical place. They're saying there's a raging fire going on in there. Even if my body's escaping being incinerated by some miracle, it's probably been exposed to ungodly amounts of radiation. I guess there really is no chance at all that I'm still alive. Though it was something that he'd already anticipated, Natsuhiko was still depressed to learn that he didn't have a glimmer of hope. Maybe I should be grateful that I still even have a consciousness here, but he had no idea how long that would last. The lingering BC energy in Watase's brain could die out at the very same moment, erasing Natsuhiko from all existence. But still, I've been awake for quite a while this time, haven't I? Just a while ago, my consciousness would cut in and out like crazy, so what changed that? As Natsuhiko questioned that fact, Watase glanced at his Procyon. It read, 4531 microsieverts. The value's rising. Now that I think about it, my consciousness has been awakening in contaminated zones. Huh? Wait a minute. What was the AD tolerance level? Safety standards within 4000 microsieverts. In other words, there's no danger of radiation contamination there as long as we've injected ourselves with AD. So we're not going to fade away as long as the radiation is above 4000. That was a conversation Watase had with Kazami in his memories. What if my consciousness stopped cutting out once the radiation level surpassed the AD tolerance level? But how would that even work? A plausible reason Natsuhiko came up with was that as the radiation grew stronger, it would damage Watase's body, thereby lowering the man's consciousness level. And conversely, Natsuhiko's consciousness and sensation would be given more room to return. If consciousness is a type of energy, then that conjecture holds some water, doesn't it? As Natsuhiko's thoughts ran about, Watase spoke up in a tense voice. If the contamination keeps on increasing at this rate, the whole facility may eventually be filled with over 8,000 microsieverts. If that happens, then it'll be the same as it not having any AD at all, huh? If that's the case, then both Salyu and the girl are by no means safe. After that, the group's discussion progressed, and they eventually decided on a course of action. They would split into two teams and begin their search, that way as to not overlook any of the survivors. Okay, then I'll help out as much as I can. Watase teamed up with Kazami and Ukita. The three of them left the neuroscience lab. Watase's team quickly went through Area 4 and began searching Labo once more. And with that, we need to wrap this one up because I let it go on way too long, but I'm just too interested to see, because all the bits are starting to come together, you know? You know, that feeling when it all comes together? Great. Can't wait to get back to it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.